Hi, my name is Mark Smith. This is my wife, Debbie. My father was the founding minister of this church. So I've been coming here 74 and some odd years now. Um, my earliest recollection is when they put the new addition on, the Xander Hall, they called it then. I don't know what they call it now, where you had Sunday school. Um, Trying to think some other recollections I had young. I always remember walking up the stairs to the first unit here. It was just a long set of stairs. And they built the addition. And back then, when they put the addition in, it seemed like we were having a bigger congregation then. We had family nights. I think it was once a month where everybody bring a potluck dinner and filled, I mean, the room was just filled to the brim down there with people. We had a lot of youth back then with Luther League. The fireside room, which is your office now, or which is the pastor's office, it was overflowing with kids with Luther League. So we had that on Sunday nights. And I'm not sure what the size of the congregation was back then, but yeah, it was really hopping back then. So, and obviously I can remember, I asked my brother what he remembers of some things, and he agreed with me. We did go to church a lot. There was a lot of functions. So Luther League, conventions, whatever. Moving, the first two houses I lived in were the church parsonages. They were owned by the church, and then when they put the new addition on in '64, we moved to over on Laurelwood, which is just a couple blocks away. So always close to the church. My dad's office was readily available. He was never home, it seemed like it, but being a minister, he had a lot of issues with people in hospitals and certain things would always tear him away with to deal with problems with congregational members, but all in all, it was a good time. And I was married here with my wife in 1983 in the chapel. My kids were baptized here. I've been serving as a head usher since 1989. Seems like after my dad retired. Tried to get me to go there beforehand, but do you have anything you want to add?
I can remember the first time I came to the church, and it wasn't with Mark. It was a friend from high school. And Ray would have been the minister then. I just remember coming that once, and then when I found out he was the minister's son, it's like, oh. Yeah. So as Mark said, we got married in the chapel. Ray had set everything up. It was a beautiful service. He had, where the beams are, he had candles that came down, and they had candle lights in it was an evening service. He had candles put in the windows. It lasted 7.5 minutes. So it was really quick. We had some friends that came in, and as they were coming in, we were leaving, and they couldn't believe the service was already over because they were Catholic and used to the hour-long services. So Mark said both boys were confirmed here. I used to teach Sunday school when they were little, and was also part of the women's club that they had here. And then later on, I was the Altar Guild person, leader, whatever you want to call it. So I did that for 8 or 9 years and decided it was time. I was afraid nobody else would take it over, and so that worked out well. So yeah, a lot of good memories with the church.
Yeah, some of the things I can remember that were troubling at the time is when we ended up moving to Ashland. after my parents got divorced. We lived over there for less than a year, and then Dad came back, and things sort of went back to normal. Some of the past members, I miss them. They were very supportive of my dad, the Gottfrieds, Brookses, Broskis, Ernst. They've since passed, but all in all, it's been a good run. So
Mark's mentioned a lot of times about families that have, when his dad was really busy, they would take the boys in for a while and no.
No, it was
Like an overnighter or
being a minister. It's just not a Sunday job. Anybody thinks it is, it isn't. And the congregation back then was a little bit bigger, and I know Dad was, when somebody of, a close friend would die, he took it pretty hard, and you could see the stress on him. He never showed it in public, but some of his closest friends or associates that, church council or whatever, some of those older members, when they passed, it was very stressful for Dad. So, but all in all, we got through it, and
very supportive congregation,
Yeah.
don't you think?
do what?
Very supportive congregation.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Different era. I don't know. One thing that's missing today is the youth. Back then, it was in my era, 50s, 60s. Church was pretty well filled, and
He has fond memories of the cherub choir,
cherub and junior choir.
Lakeside.
But it was one of those deals. If the cherub choir, I always went to every service, whether I liked to or not, but I did. But it was junior choir or cherub choir. They always sang different service, or we had something we had to be there at first service. So I remember talking with my brother when we went to Easter Sunday. It was get up and go to sunrise service, which was 6:30, if I remember right. Then you had the breakfast, and then you had first service, because maybe the choir was singing, and then you had Sunday school, and then you had to finish out the second service. And I was exhausted, but Dad seemed to be okay with it, so it seemed like a long day, but that was,
That was a big service.
yeah, good times.
Your dad also used to do the radio every
Yeah,
Saturday?
they had radio every Saturday morning, so.
We would listen to that at
Yeah.
home.
But the church really grew. I mean, it started out as a small little chapel and grew into the bigger building, and it was filled quite a bit most of the time. So, I think my dad retired, 89, was it?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember for sure.
8 or 9 or 90.
So,
45. 40 years would have been.
yeah. And the ministers since then, the people that have come and gone, so